If you made it to this channel, then you're looking to spend 2026 doing some really deep healing work. I know you hear a lot of talk about healing journey, right? That became just a very popular term over the years. And what a lot of people don't speak about is the very deep work it constantly takes. I don't believe that a healing journey is a destination you reach in a certain amount of time. I believe it is everlasting. It is something that you'll work on for the rest of your life, sort of like religion. To head in the right direction on that journey, you have to face some really hard things. Things that might be hard to accept, things that may be hard to say, and things that may be hard to feel. I do believe there are very important and necessary steps to take when you decide that it's something you're ready to do. One of the most challenging yet detrimental parts of this journey is having to face if you have any underlying issues with either of your parents. We're going to open tonight's episode with a little story time about a guy I once knew back in high school. Now, not to date myself, but this was way back in maybe 1995, 1996. I was a youth specialist, mentoring and working very closely with youth ages 14 through 19. I had a caseload of at-risk youth that the overall job was to encourage them to finish school and to seek employment and to navigate different issues they were having in their own life. I didn't really realize it until now, but during that chapter of my life, even at the age of, I believe I was 13 or 14 when I started that job, and I didn't realize, I think it took me writing this segment to realize that even way back then, I would spend a lot of time on the phone listening to people. And so this story I'm going to share, this is not pertaining to anyone that was in my caseload because I could not breach their confidentiality. This was just a person whose path I crossed, and I'm not even sure how. I don't remember his name. I don't too much remember what he looked like. I don't remember too much about him. But what I can say is I remember the pain in his voice from each call. I remember listening to him so many nights just have breakdowns about physical abuse that he suffered at the hands of his father. And this isn't just, one of those times where your parents whoop you a little too hard or was too rough. This was like really traumatizing events, such as putting a cigarette butt out on your flesh and real torture. And so I want to dedicate this episode to him and others like him who have experienced abuse at the hands of either their mother, father, or guardian, someone that was supposed to be taking care of them. I know, not everyone's abuse is as extreme. Some could be physical, some could be mental, some could be emotional. But I just really want to hold space for all of the individuals out there that have lived this life. This episode is dedicated to you. Now, I do want to make this statement, and in making this statement, I don't wish to minimize anyone's experience. Part of healing is acceptance, right? And sometimes it's accepting people and all their flaws and their imperfections. Every single one of our parents were humans having a human experience. And in that experience, sometimes the children are collateral damage. Sometimes in parents being human, others are impacted in ways that carry over from childhood to adolescence to adulthood. So tonight's episode I wanted to spark confrontation within your soul, because we often have such a loyalty to our parents that at times things that affect us negatively are hard to admit to ourselves within, because we hold our parents on a pedestal no matter what. But healing is about facing and confronting the reality of how things may have impacted you. So I think your first step is to really ask yourself if your parent being a human, if it left any negative remnants within you. And then also reflect on, if so, how did those things show up for you later in life? Did it affect the relationships you chose, other interpersonal relationships? Did it affect your self-identity, your inner self-talk? Did it affect your self-worth, your work ethic? These are all things that can be impacted by mother and father wounds. So today we're going to scratch the surface on some of those issues, and I'm going to leave you with some journal prompts for you to reflect on this week. Now, here's what I found interesting in my studies this week. Surprisingly, there are a lot of people that have experienced emotional unavailability from either their mother, their father, or both. But each show up and impact you differently. Emotional neglect may look like being provided for, not seen emotionally. It may look like having your feelings minimized, being praised for independence, but not being comforted, protected, or emotionally guided. Now, in your earlier years, you are supposed to get a lot of your nurturing from your mother. However, when you have a mother that's emotionally unavailable, in the mother wound, other behaviors that actually latch on to being emotionally unavailable are being critical, inconsistent, overwhelmed, or flat out absent. In this, children learn to self-soothe all too early, develop fear of being a burden. They become hyper aware of others' moods, or they might even attach to people who feel familiar, not safe. In adulthood, this could look like people pleasing, overgiving, and staying in emotionally one-sided relationships. Now, as it pertains to fatherhood, in our earlier years, the father is supposed to show us safety, protection, affirmation, and confidence. When a father is absent, inconsistent, or emotionally unavailable or critical, that shows up in adulthood as overworking to try to prove yourself, approval and chasing others, chasing that approval from others, avoidance out of fear of emotional abandonment, avoidance out of fear of emotional dependence, attraction to emotionally unavailable partners, being an emotionally unavailable partner yourself, and difficulty trusting masculine energy. These type of wounds affect your attachment style. It can make you anxious out of fear of abandonment. It can make you an overgiver or hypervigilant. It can make you avoidant, displaying emotional distance and discomfort with vulnerability. And it can also make you appear as disorganized, where you crave closeness but you also sabotage and run from it. Of course, that's all out of fear. Now, later in life, these wounds show up in your self-worth. It impacts your identity formation. It may help you settle for a bare minimum, stay too long in unhealthy dynamic, struggle with receiving healthy love, feeling undeserving of consistency. So imagine taking all these wounds. You have all these wounds built up within you, and all of these wounds create tiny little micro wounds that if you don't deal with them, they eventually deal with you. Take all of the elements of all of those effects and then try to go make healthy decisions in your own life. And that could be anywhere from the career path you choose, the job, your interpersonal relationships, who you marry, who you're friends with. It can heavily impact your ability to make healthy, wise, good decisions. I'm going to help you interrupt those patterns by choosing consistency, safety, practicing boundaries without guilt, allowing yourself to receive, and reparenting yourself emotionally. I came up with a few prompts for you, and because this work it can be strenuous at times, it can make you extremely moody, it can make you want to give up, it can make you just want to throw in the towel. It can make you angry. There are so many emotions that are going to be stirred up inside of you, but keep going. I've come up with a few prompts for you to take through your week with you, and I want you to take it with ease and give yourself patience and understanding through this. Here are the questions I want you to write down and reflect on this week. What am I still trying to get from my partner or others in my life that I did not get as a child? What would safety feel like instead of the chaos that I created? And as it pertains to how you were raised and who you were raised by, how did it impact your inner dialogue? How did it impact your self-talk and your beliefs about who you are? This is an extremely important prompt because your mother and father or guardians, whoever raised you, they have such a significant role in the beginning part of your life. Before you even know who you are, you're told who you are. That in itself, you have to go and explore. Do you agree with who you were told you are? Family in general has such a important role in our life. And sometimes we don't mean any harm by it, but we label babies and children from the moment they come out the womb. And while, at times you might not mean to be harmful, you might not mean to be negative, kids are like sponges. And what you repeatedly sow into them, they believe. They soak up and believe. And there are going to be some things that you have to break up with. Some things that weren't true, things that you didn't agree with, things that struck a nerve, that hurt, that impacted you negatively. You're going to have to break up with all of those ideologies. I know this was a very heavy first episode, but that truly is what healing is about. Healing is a heavy lift. I want to big you up for even attempting, because it's not for the weak by any means. I want you to make sure you have a good supportive circle around you that you can lean on when you need to, but also know that you got this. It is a lot to digest, and even it's gonna stir up some truths within yourself, some things that need confronting, possibly even conversations that need to be had. It is going to get things moving. And so we're going to keep it short and sweet. I want to thank you for joining into episode number 1, Mother and Father Wounds. And we created a link where you can write to us. You can submit advice letters, rants, questions you might have, all anonymously. We do not collect name, location, email, nothing. Everything is 100% anonymous. Go ahead and click the link in our description and write to us if this episode resonated with you. If you have any questions regarding this episode, if you want to share a story with us, or if you have some topic ideas. I'm your host, Angelique. I hope you enjoyed tonight's segment. Although healing is not always enjoyable, right? It just is what it is, but we are in this together. And I can honestly say, even though my healing journey started way back in 2009 or 2010, you would think that, you might think I'm a pro, you might think that, it's cake for me. But no, what ends up happening is that as you're getting over these 20 things, you're just making space for more shit to happen. And such is life, right? Because I think that if I wouldn't have gone on this journey long ago, then things that I would face later in life, such as the loss of my sister and so much more, I don't think I would have handled as well. And that's not to say that, as you heal and you're getting in the thick of learning how to decompress, how to process, how to keep it moving, how to transmute it into something positive. You can learn all these things, but life will turn you every which way but loose, okay? And if I hadn't gone on that journey long ago, I think that I would have been in shambles. Fast forward to 2023 when I lost my sister. I, even though that was like the most pain I've been in my life, I can honestly say that if I hadn't have gotten grounded and emotionally familiar with myself, then I possibly would have handled that death tragically. And so be encouraged. Don't give up when it gets tough, and know that I'm right here with you.